Hey there, do you want to know what programs consider when they make the rank order list? How often do they meet? What actually goes on behind those curtains? We spoke with Taylor Tripp, a former program coordinator and now part of our team at USMLE Sarthi, and he's discussing in great details what the rank order criteria is from a program perspective. So listen on, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel for some very useful match related updates.
Good morning, good evening, everyone, depending on which part of the globe you're in. Today we are joined by Taylor Tripp, who is now part of our team at USMLE Sarthi. He's a former program coordinator at University of Washington and Mount Sinai. And we wanted to get his perspective on what programs consider, what factors do they consider when they are finally ranking the applicants. You know, this is the ROL season, so each one of you must be worried about what programs do, how do they rank the applicants. So let's get in Taylor, who has been a program coordinator and has seen the process from the other side, and he'll be sharing his thoughts with you. Welcome, Taylor. Welcome to the team.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. So I think one of the first questions that everyone has is, what factors do programs actually consider when they rank the applicants? It is just the whim of the program director, or is it actually more rigorous than that?
Right. Well, so first I want to say each program has their own unique way of creating their rank list, but I do think there are commonalities between most or all of them. So my programs, and I think most programs, base their ranking on a combination of both qualitative and quantitative aspects of reviewing their applicants. Most programs do try to put some rigor behind their process, and so I will kind of talk about how we did it in our program. So the quantitative aspects, they're mostly the items that are already incorporated into your ARIS application. So these are your step 1 and 2 scores, your clerkship grades, and people are looking for, obviously, the specific scores, but they're looking for grade consistency, they're looking for where you are in the class ranking, and they're especially looking at your clerkship grades and the specialty that you're trying to match into. But again, I want to highlight that these, because they're part of your ARIS application, are not necessarily as important in the rank list as the qualitative factors. And in fact, the 2016 Program Director Survey conducted by the NRMP found that 8 of the top 10 factors that programs use in ranking applicants are actually qualitative. So they're things like interactions with faculty, residents, and house staff during your interview day, interpersonal skills, your letter of recommendation and dean's letter, which is part of your ARIS application, your perceived commitment to the specialty, and your perceived interest in the program. So these are the things that are ranked highly from program directors on what they consider very important in determining their rank list. And I do want to talk that only 26% of programs even consider visa status when they're preparing their rank list. So this is not something you need to worry about, especially because the programs that would not consider people based on their visa status are probably not going to offer interviews anyway. So chances are, if you interviewed at a program, the visa status is not going to be an issue in the preparation of their rank list.
So that's an important point. If you have an interview with the program, then they know your visa status, and therefore in the final ranking, the visa status won't be that big an issue. I think the other 2 important points you made was interest in the program, you know, the perceived interest in the program and the LORs. I think even for IMGs, these stand out because a lot of LORs tend to be generic. So the LOR, the quality of LORs and the perceived interest in the program, is very important. So yes, thank you for that. Yep. Now let's come to the operational side of it. You know, the how programs actually go about ranking the students, you know, do they have scorecards, score sheets? Do they do it weekly, monthly? How do they do it?
Yeah, so I can talk about my program and lots of the other programs at Mount Sinai. We use scoring sheets. So each interviewer had their own scoring sheet that was completed. And the score was about 25% of those quantitative things from your application, things like test scores, grades, and then 75% was based on your performance in the interview. And so those aspects are the same qualitative things that I spoke about earlier, things like your interactions with staff and faculty, your interpersonal skills, commitment to the specialty and program. Those are very important. And so what we did is at the end of the interview season, so again, we're not, and I think many programs don't formally meet to develop a rank list until they've completed all or most of their interviews because, yes. So, so the ranking committee meets, we have all of the score sheets. Say you interviewed with 6 different faculty, so you'll have 6 different score sheets, and we'll sum that all up, and you'll get a total score there. And this total score is not the be-all, end-all of everything. It just informs the conversation. So when the ranking committee meets, they can look at the scores and the combined scores, and that just gives them an easy indication of kind of where you are in the list of applicants. But there are other things that come out in the conversation within the committee meeting, the ranking committee meeting, that can influence whether you might move up or down in the ranking. So the committee meeting meets to discuss the applicants. It's usually the program director, a few key faculty. We always tried to have resident representation just to have a current resident's perspective. And sometimes program coordinators participate in the meetings as well. And the committee meeting is all about coming to a consensus on the ranking list. That's the goal, but as I'm sure you know, it can be complicated when you're trying to get 5 people to agree. So it does vary from program to program, but influential faculty like your program director or assistant program director, they do have power to veto, uprank, downrank applicants. But out of that meeting is where the rank list comes from. And for us, this was, they order food, they hunker down for 2 or 3 hours. It's a lot of conversation, a lot of back and forth.
Okay. And I think the important point you raise here is that even the scoring criteria, and it may not be 25, 75 for each program, but a majority is actually the qualitative things, how you interacted with the faculty, how you interacted with other folks, what your interview day, I think you're saying, is the major determinant of where you'll fall in the rank order list. Is that a correct assumption? Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. And then a lot of students come to us and we tell them the timing of the interview doesn't really matter on where the programs will, rank you, because some students are under the impression that the later in the season you interview, you'll be fresh, quote unquote, fresh in the mind of the faculty, and probably you will get a rank there versus, say, you interview in October, where they may have forgotten about you. So what have you seen? Is it really the truth, or is it just one of those myths?
I would say your advice to students has been very correct. In my experience, and also the NRMP data supports this, when you interview makes no difference in your chance of matching. Like I said, the ranking committee is not going to meet formally until after everybody or most people have interviewed. They're going into it with files on everybody's application. They have notes that they've taken. Every file is reviewed. So while if you interviewed 2 weeks ago, they might remember your name and face offhand. If you interviewed 2 months ago, they have your file, and they're going to remember you when they see your photo, and they're going to see their notes, and there's no advantage to interviewing earlier or later. And there also are ongoing informal conversations that happen throughout the interview process. So if you're a standout applicant in the beginning of the interview process, people are going to remember you. People are going to talk about that kind of throughout time, and you will be remembered.
Okay, good. So it was good to burst that message. All right, good. Now, then the other concern a lot of students have is, I haven't heard back anything from that program after my thank you email or after my letter of intent. Will they actually rank me? What are the chances that they will rank me? So how many do these programs rank, if they have 10 spots or 20 spots? How long is the rank order list?
Yeah, well, first I'd like to say program coordinators are very busy. So if you haven't heard back from your program after a thank you email or note, don't read into that at all. That just means it's interview season and your program coordinator has lots of other things they're doing.
Yes.
I would say that the average program, according to the NRMP, ranks between 4 and 5 times the number of spots they have available. So a program typically has around 20 spots, the average program, and so the average rank list is around 80 applicants. And the vast majority, 85% of applicants, according to the NRMP data, who interview at a given program are then ranked by that program.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's kind of reassuring, I guess, to these students. All right. But then what would be a typical reason that an applicant even doesn't fall in that 80-85% and it's not ranked? An applicant is not ranked by the program after the interview.
So again, we're talking about 10 to 15% of people only who interview at a program who don't end up on the rank list. So I couldn't find any specific data on this, but based on my personal experience as a program coordinator, mostly this boils down to fit. So just like students will likely interview at programs and maybe one or two are programs they visit, they feel like they aren't a good fit for the program. That happens from the program side as well.
Okay.
So this boils down to, again, those qualitative things. So maybe the student just didn't really click with the lead faculty, and so that rapport wasn't there. Maybe there were some, when the committee met to discuss, maybe they found that there were some conflicts or inconsistencies in the applicant's story. That came up several times. For example, telling the program director one thing and maybe the resident who's interviewing you slightly different thing.
I see.
So it's very important to also, maintain consistency because I think students are often trying to impress people and and which is always great, but you have to do so in an authentic way. And then the final thing is concerns about commitment to the specialty or interest in the specific program. Sometimes faculty or residents come out of the interview and they say, this student maybe doesn't necessarily want to go into family medicine or psychiatry. Maybe they're not as committed to this program as we would like them to be. Maybe they don't want to live in this area of the country. And so there's some concern from the program faculty about fit between the program and the student.
Okay. All right. So now let's talk about the role of the program coordinator, which has been the face of the program to the students throughout the math journey, and the role varies, from the beginning of the season towards the rank order list. So what is the role, if any, of the program coordinator in making the final rank order list or things like that? So what role does a program coordinator play here?
Sure. So typically program coordinators don't participate formally in the scoring process or the interviews, but where it does come in handy is the program coordinators are always talking to the program director, faculty, and residents throughout interview day, after interviews, about applicants' highlighting, any negative or positive interactions that they see, because the program coordinator has special insight into the applicants on interview day, whereas, a faculty member sees you for a half hour or an hour for an interview, the program coordinator sees you throughout the day and sees you interact with all sorts of different people. So sometimes I've had faculty ask me for kind of a second opinion on somebody. Maybe got a feeling that this person was kind of sucking up to faculty members, but we're kind of short with lower level staff, and so they would ask, like, hey, when this person is away from faculty, out of our site, how are they behaving? And there have been instances where that has affected the ranking in my program, both positively and negatively. So
I see.
A positive influence, I'll give an example. I saw this woman, she was just so courteous, so kind. Her emails were always just very professional. On interview day, she showed up. She was cleaning up after herself and others during the lunch. She sent personalized thank you cards. And so I made a point to tell my program director about those experiences because, we're all human and we want to work with people who are fun and nice to be around. But then on the flip side of that, I've also relayed negative experiences that I've had with applicants. I've seen an applicant treating a receptionist rudely, and he kind of had discourteous emails, and I relayed that to the program director and as well, and that resulted in him getting a lower ranking.
Ah, okay. So these things actually happen and influence.
They do.
All right. Very good. I think those were the most of the questions that we got from the students. So thank you very much for addressing these. Any last minute advice, thought? We are almost at the end of the season, and now students are putting together their rank order list. Programs must be doing the same. What can help the students sleep better at night between now and the match day? Is there anything they can do? They've all sent letter of intent and everything.
I think at this point, you just do some meditation, some deep breathing, and relax until match day because your work is over.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Taylor. Much appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch soon.